I had just returned from a relaxing summer weekend with my children in the country. I opened my inbox and there was an email from a complete stranger that knocked me off my chair. It said, "I'm a female of age 32, from Cameroon, but a maid in Kuwait. I wish to be freed and return to my country. My master requires payment." There are many of us girls here who are treated like prisoners and not allowed to go out of the house. Please help Francisca. My head spun right away. My heart was racing. How could I help? How could I help this person so far away? Who did I know? What if this was a scam? And worst of all, what if she got killed communicating with me? This was the first time that I had been contacted by somebody in slavery. I'd worked for 8 years with organizations in 5 countries to help them free people, to help them create innovative solutions. For instance, the Scion Forum in the Philippines rescued women who had been hurt in domestic work and in brothels. They created solutions to rescue them. They taught ferry companies and the government how to identify young victims at the point of transit. They are now dealing with the horrific crime of cybersex and rescuing children as young as 1 year old from being tortured by viewers thousands of miles away. In India, Jivika Free has freed over 30,000 bonded laborers. They've empowered 21,000 women with self-help groups so that they can maintain the freedom of their village and their families. In Ghana, Challenging Heights rescues children who have been enslaved in the fishing villages. Through Freedom for All, I had worked with these groups, and they had endangered their lives every day to end slavery. They're my rock stars. Now I was being called on through this email to free someone. I let Francisca know that I would try to find somebody who could help her, who could rescue her. I called the national hotline, Polaris Project. I called our partner in the Philippines. I called international agencies that deal with slavery. I tried to find a local shelter that might rescue her. The few that I found didn't pick up their phones. Four days later, she emailed me again. "Please don't forget me." Of course I couldn't forget her. Every second since she contacted me had seemed like a day. And the next day I received an email that I dreaded I might receive. It said, "My master is abusing me. I'm scared." And I was helpless to help her. I hadn't found anyone. The next morning, miraculously, she had escaped, and we were able to get her home. Francisca is a college graduate. She was pursuing her graduate degree in Norway in multiculturalism, but she couldn't afford to live there, so she returned home to Cameroon, where she met a labor broker who told her about a job teaching English in Kuwait. It paid $800 a month, and her living expenses. He lied. Through Francisca, we were able to rescue 27 other women. And we returned them to their home countries. Each of them had been promised a different job by a corrupt labor broker with good salaries. When they got to the destination, all of them were forced to work as domestic workers with essentially no pay. Maybe some got a little, but no pay. At Ford, I was used to working with young, vulnerable people. We scouted all over the world. I told young, aspiring models what they could earn in New York and the potential for different types of jobs. They had hopes and dreams of a better life. When they came, they didn't know where they were. They didn't know how to get around. Frequently, they didn't speak English. So they lived with us. We took care of them like they were family. People who are trafficked for work have that same hope and dream of a better life. But when they arrive, what they were promised is not there. Usually, they're young and they end up trapped. When my parents started Ford in 1946, the agency business looked a lot like the labor broker system looks today. The models weren't paid, they were exploited. My parents thought it was natural to pay them, and of course it was the right thing to do to protect them, and that's why they did it. But as it turned out, it was also good for business. The models at other agencies, when they heard Ford models were being paid, switched to us. So I thought, what if we tried to do something for domestic workers, something similar to this, where we compete against the corrupt labor brokers? I told this idea to a friend in the not-for-profit world. He turned to me and said, "You run a not-for-profit, don't you?" I said, "Yes, but what if we can solve a human rights violation with a business that's self-sustaining? What if we can actually do something better? Isn't that worth trying?" I looked at it as my goal was to end slavery. Whether it's through a not-for-profit or a business, it doesn't matter. The point is to end it. So I started on a plan. I found someone who had experience in recruiting and training workers. We worked on a business plan and presented it to the government of Dubai, where she's located. Unbeknownst to us, the government was changing its labor laws as it related to domestic workers. They gave us an initial approval, and we started to look for investors. I really thought social impact investors were going to love the solution. I was wrong. We didn't fall into any of their categories. We weren't primarily tech. We weren't education, environment, or healthcare. And most did not invest in the Middle East. So I went to some business investors and I said, "What's wrong with this business plan? How can I make it better? What's missing? Please critique it." Instead of critiquing it, they chose to invest. My work at Freedom for All is still necessary, and philanthropic donations are very important if we're going to end slavery in our time. But charitable organizations can't do it alone. Slavery is more profitable than abolition. It is a huge industry. It's a $150 billion industry, the second largest crime after drug trafficking. There are 40 million people in slavery today. That is more than the combined populations of New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and the next 26 cities in the United States. 40 million, imagine that. Imagine those cities all being people who were enslaved. That is our reality today. Our business is about to open. We're hoping that this will change the lives of thousands of people and their families. We are hoping to put the corrupt labor brokers out of business. All of these ideas are about applying our values holistically. The same values and goals I had at Forward of developing people, I had at Freedom for All also. And now the same values are driving me back to a business. For those of you in the room who are about to begin your careers, let your path be driven by your values. And let yourself be surprised by where it ends. Thank you.